Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first kindergarten session, Lunch, Transportation, Clinic, Oh My. I wanted to start off tonight by welcoming you to Lakota. We are so excited to have your child joining us as a kindergartner this year. For some of you, this will be your first experience with Lakota. Others, you have older children who have moved through the system already. And either way, we are super, super excited to have your children joining us at our early childhood schools next school year. And we hope that you will find these 4 sessions very informative. Hopefully it'll answer lots of your questions, ease some worries about kindergarten, and of course, set you up to be prepared for that start of school next year. So I want to talk to you about a few things regarding tonight's session that are a little bit on the housekeeping side of things. First of all, I want to let you know that tonight's session is being recorded, and within the next 24 hours, we will upload it to Lakota's website along with this presentation so that you can access all of the links that you see us sharing tonight. A couple other things, we will be using the question and answer feature. So if you hover on your screen down at the bottom, you should have a section that says Q&A, like this one right here. You can click on it and submit questions. And as you're submitting, we will do our best to answer those questions right in real time. So you'll get to see those questions answered. If they're not answered right away, it's because they're covered later in the presentation, or they're a personal question for your specific family. So if you have a personal question about your child or something that's really specific to you and your family, you can email that to me, and I've got my email there on the screen. It's also going to be on the last slide, so you can access it again later in the presentation. But as long as it's a general question about what we're discussing tonight, please go ahead and submit your questions in the question and answer feature on your Zoom session, on your Zoom screen. Please do not use the raise your hand feature, as we're going to continue to monitor the question and answer, but not participants with hands raised, because we have so many joining us tonight on our presentation. So with that said, let's jump into kindergarten session number 1, Lunch, Transportation, Clinic, Oh My. So I would like to begin by welcoming our panelists for tonight's presentation. We have Sue Pruitt, who actually at the last minute was not able to be with us, so I'm going to cover the transportation portion of this. We have Lauren Brown from Lakota Health Services, and we have Lynn Gilkey from Lakota Child Nutrition. So you will be hearing from each of these folks tonight on their respective departments, and they will also be answering some questions in the chat should they arise. All right. So I started putting together this presentation, and I noticed that multiple times throughout this presentation, we talk about something called HACK. So those of you that have children in the district, you probably well know HACK already. Those of you that are new to the district probably have no idea what HACK is, and that's okay, because we're going to teach you tonight. So HACK is short for the Home Access Center. And this is where you receive all of the information you need about your child. So you'll see on the bar down here at the bottom, you can receive attendance information, class information. Eventually, when your kids get to the elementary building, you'll be receiving grade information, student support information, and registration information. You will receive this login information after registration so that you can access your child's Home Access Center account. This is how you're going to obtain the teacher information and the transportation information that we're going to talk about in just a minute. If you have older children in the district, as you can see right here, everyone's login and password is the same, and it'll all be linked under that same account. So you can toggle between your kids. I've got my 2 kids right here for you to see. You can toggle between them, and it'll switch back and forth over the screens, so that you can find this information for your children. All right, let's get into some information about transportation. So as you can see, we do have a website on transportation on lakotaonline.com, and I'm going to access that a couple different times during our presentation today so that we can take a look at everything the website has to offer. So this is the home page. Once you have access to the presentation, you can click here and you will have access to the home page. You can also access it by, this is the main page. If you click on district information and you scroll down to transportation, that's exactly how I got to the page that you saw. And we're going to toggle back and forth between a few of these things over here on the side during our session today. All right, let's talk about bus stop information. So, all right, so again, you're going to find that information by clicking on the transportation website, or you can go directly on it, and you are going to click on bus routes. Right now, it's not going to show us anything because we aren't at the beginning of a school year. You can also go into your child's HACC account and you can access the information I'm going to talk about via their HACC account. So all of your bus stop and pickup drop-off times will be posted the week of August 9th, if not sooner, on the website where I just showed you and on HACC. What you will need to access this is your child's school identification number, which you received at registration, and your login information for HACC. A couple things to plan for the beginning of the school year. Please plan for some delays the first week of school. We spend a lot of extra time making sure that all of our students, especially our kindergartners, are in their designated transportation areas and are getting home the way that you have asked that they get home, whether that is a car rider, a bus rider, or possibly they're hopping into a daycare van. So we spend some extra time, which makes our routes run just a little bit longer than they typically would. So when you see the times listed for pickup and drop off, plan for it to be a little bit later the first week of school. Also, for all of our K-2 students, we must have a parent, guardian, or a designated person present at the bus stop for pickup and for drop-off. So if your child is coming home on the school bus and there is no parent or guardian at the bus stop, these children will be returned to school back to their building administrator, and we will contact you to come to the school and pick them up. So that's a key thing that you've got to remember if you're new to Lakota, is that you must be present at the bus stop for pickup and for drop off. All right, let's talk a little bit more about transportation forms. So this is very, very, very important for us, especially for kindergartners, to obtain this information. So once you go to the transportation website here, there is an area for transportation forms. When you click on forms, you're going to find the transportation childcare information form, and you can obtain it this way. It'll also be sent home for you in the mail so that you have access to it. So here is where you can fill this out electronically. And the one that comes home looks identical. So you're going to fill in all of the contact information that you have for whoever the guardians are of your child. And then this is where you're going to talk about what is my child doing to get to school and what are they doing at the end of the day to head home. So you can have up to, so you're going to mark the bus is going to pick us up, or maybe they're coming from a YMCA latchkey program, or maybe they're going to be a car rider in the mornings. And then for the afternoon, you can check either the bus from school is going to childcare, which could also be, or home, and then YMCA latchkey or car rider. For childcare drop-off and pickup, or I'm sorry, home drop-off and pickup or childcare, you can have up to 2 locations that you list on here for your child to be picked up or dropped off. So some of our families that have shared parenting situations, or maybe they're coming from, maybe they're going home a couple of days or childcare a couple of days, you're going to list those providers here in this section. And then if there's any additional information that you have, you can share that too. So there's a couple of things that are really important about this transportation form. First of all, if your child is going to a child care facility at the end of the day or before school, it is your responsibility to make sure that they are in the school zone of attendance and or offering private transportation from the child care provider. So despite where you live, our buses will only drop off your child to places that are within that school zone of your house. So again, if you have a shared parenting situation and maybe the mother's address is in Wyandotte zone and the father's address is in Shawnee zone, we will only drop, and the child is attending Wyandotte, we will only drop the child off to the home that is in Wyandotte zone or a child care provider within Wyandotte zone. Changes can be made to your child's form at any time in the front office. I do want to caution you and ask you to take note that any late changes could potentially result in a delay in transportation. So it's really vitally important that you get this form filled out and sent in to your child's school in early summer with all of the information to the best of your current knowledge listed on there. Anything that changes in the meantime after that, you can go into the front office of your child's school and make those changes. All right, a couple of housekeeping transportation items here that I want to let you know, partly to ease your questions about how is my 5 or 6 year old going to make it to the right place and remember all the things, and some other things just for you to know that will be happening the first week of school. So first of all, the school is going to issue a name tag to your kindergartner that identifies their school, their bus number, and their address. This ensures that they are sent to the correct location at the end of the day. They must keep these on their school bags for the duration of the school year. We will use them again if there's a substitute teacher or maybe someone else is taking the students to their locations. For anything that may arise, we want to make sure that those tags are on the children's school bags so that we know exactly where to send them at the end of the day. The week before school starts, your child will be assigned a bus number. These numbers are found on all sides of the school bus. The individual schools then will use animals, shapes, or other objects to help your child identify where their specific school bus is. So some of our kindergartners coming in aren't ready to read the number 167, but they know that bus 167 is the zebra bus. And they most likely will have that attached to their name tag so that they can take a look, they can look for the zebra bus and hop on. This just makes it easier for the kids to recognize and easier for our staff to make sure that if they find a child without a teacher, they can help get them to the right place. Bus stops. During the first couple weeks of school, your driver is going to help your child locate their bus stop when they're coming home on the bus. So when the bus stops, they're going to stand up and say all the children's names who will get off at that specific location, and they'll do that for the first few weeks of school. After that, your child will be responsible for remembering when and where to get off the bus, and hopefully will become really good at recognizing those stops. So it's always helpful when you get your child to the stop or you're practicing, you help them look for specific surroundings that they can identify when the bus pulls up. Also, during the first few weeks of school, your child is going to be learning a lot about bus safety. So bus safety, bus rules, how to evacuate the bus, all of those things are some things that the drivers are going to spend time teaching the children as far as how to be safe in the bus and around the school bus. So this is very important information for your child to learn, and you will see coming home some of this information, and you should definitely make sure to follow up with your children when they get home about these bus safety rules. All right, if you have questions or have information that you need to share specific to the transportation department that you wouldn't put on the transportation form, here is the information. You can also find this listed on the website for you to access at any point in time. All right, and it is time to hear from Lauren Brown from Lakota Health Services. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad you guys are joining us and taking time out of your busy schedules to learn about these transportation and clinic and lunch. These are all the most important things before your kid walks in the door. Just kidding, because we know it's about education, but we want to be here to support every part of your child's kindergarten year. So I do want to let you know just a little bit about our health services. I am Lauren Brown. I'm the manager of healthcare services. So I oversee all the nurses within the district. We have a full-time registered nurse at every building. So I've listed there the name of the nurse for your building and their email address. So if you have questions concerning your specific child, a medical need that they have, and you want to reach out to them, now is not too early to reach out. They would love to hear from you and at least kind of understand what your child is coming in with and be able to answer your questions. Some of our nurses even do set up meetings with students and families that have specific health needs like diabetes or asthma or seizures or things like that, even before the school year ends, so that they can be prepared and start planning for your child to enter the school year in the safest way possible. So do not hesitate to reach out to any of the nurses that are there, or you can email me as well, and I can help connect you with the right nurse. Also to let you know, we have a couple of nurses that support our district, and they are floating registered nurses that may or may not be in and out of the building as well. They help support if there's a substitute need. So we always have somebody who's familiar with your child to come in case your regular nurse isn't there for the day. Your child's safety is our primary concern. So we want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with that. Next slide. So unfortunately, every student is supposed to have immunizations, which is a big ouch for our kiddos. You do need to have a shot record on file. You are probably asked for it online when you did your online registration. If you didn't provide your shot record or it's not complete because you have a well check over the summer, that's okay. You can always email it to your nurse either now or over the summer, and it will get to her when she's available to look at that. The last round of vaccines are given after the age of 4. So they're usually done at either the 4 or 5-year well check with your physician. In case you haven't had that well check yet, that's when there's going to be another round of immunizations that are due. So we do need to have that immunization record from that last well check. And again, if you haven't submitted it yet, you can scan and email it to the nurse, or you can drop it off at the main office of your building if you'd like to do that. Your nurse may go ahead and send you reminder letters before the end of the school year if we're missing an immunization or two based on what you submitted for your online registration. So don't be surprised if they've submitted it or if they contact you about missing immunizations. Just make sure you get those to school by September 7th. That's the state deadline of when every student is supposed to have a complete immunization record on file. Or they're not supposed to attend school moving forward. So we really want to make sure you hit that deadline. The other thing is if for any reason, medical or religious or personal belief, you choose not to have your child immunized, there's a form you can fill out to simply do that. And you can go ahead and get that from your building nurse as well. So we want to make sure that you have all your options available to you. Next slide. Medications are something that students need at school for a variety of reasons. All medications, whether they're prescription or over-the-counter medications, need to have a physician's order on file. That includes anything that's a vitamin, supplement, herbal medication, topical essential oils. We've had some students that require those during the day. So all of that stuff has to be written by a physician or a licensed prescriber. So we have forms on our website where you can access that and take them to your physician. If you don't have our form and you've already had something filled out, we'll accept that. We'll probably just ask you to sign our Lakota form to give us permission to administer that. Parents or guardians or an adult that you designate have to bring these medications to school. So if you can't get there because of your work schedule, but you have your neighbor, Nancy, who's willing to come over and drop the medication off at school, that's fine to do that. Just communicate with your nurse ahead of time, so we know who to expect to bring that medication to us. We really cannot have students carrying and bringing medications into school from their backpack. Things have a way of getting lost, spilled, misplaced, and we really don't want to have those medications floating around to other students as well. And then all of the medications we receive at school either have to be in the original pharmacy container that you get them from the prescription bottle, or if it's an over-the-counter medication, it has to be in the original box, and you just have to write their name on it. So every student needs to have that original container so we know what the medication is, what the dose is, and when it expires, because we monitor that as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your nurse again. One thing I will say is we do allow students that have EpiPens or have some sort of epinephrine auto injector like an ABQ, they are able to carry that on their person with specific permission. So if your child has a food allergy or a bee sting allergy, and that's a medicine that they need to have, again, contact your nurse and we'll give you the right forms to do that in such a way that your child can be safe and we make sure that they have the medication that they need. Next slide. So we have a bunch of school health guidelines that we ask you to review about when to send your kid to school and when not to. For those of you who are not new to Lakota, it's probably something you're very familiar with. We look for things like a fever of 100.0 degrees or above. You need to keep your child home. If they have vomiting within 24 hours, they need to stay home until that's gone for 24 hours. So things like that, we just want to make sure that when your child comes to school, they're in the best physical condition they can to be available to learn. If they're not feeling good, they're not going to want to sit in class and pay attention or participate in some of the fun activities that they'll have. So if you want to take a look at that, those are the guidelines that we ask you to be aware of. If not, your nurse is probably going to go ahead and call you to say, we need you to come and pick up your child from school. So it just goes through some of our more common illnesses as well. One thing about the fever, just to let you know, is they need to be fever-free for 24 hours without medication. So no Tylenol, no Motrin or Advil controlling that fever. It has to be totally and completely gone. One of the things about sending a kid to school, especially our little ones, is there are times that we have bathroom accidents where kids don't get to the bathroom in enough time, or all the stalls are busy, or they were just so involved in learning that they forgot they had to go until it was too late. So it is always a good idea to send an extra set of clothes in your child's backpack that you can just put in a Ziploc bag. Pants, a shirt, milk spills are a big thing in our cafeterias. But underwear and socks are also important. We try to keep a supply in our school clinics. This year with COVID, we haven't been able to do that. So a lot of times if the child can bring their clothes from home, that's great. We can help them out. If not, again, we're calling a parent or guardian to come help us out at the school. And then COVID guidelines. We don't know what COVID is going to look like in the fall. So we don't know exactly yet whether we're going to be in masks or not, or what we're going to be able to do in terms of having kids coming to school, what symptoms we're looking for. So right now we do have a set of COVID guidelines that students have to follow, or families need to follow, for when you can and cannot send your child to school. But I expect those to change between now and August. So I put the current guidelines up there for you. So if you want to, you can go tool around the 20-page document and see, read to your heart's content, but it's probably going to change between now and August as well. So just keep checking back and make sure that as we get closer to the start of school, you're kind of aware of those guidelines. Next slide, please. So we do have mental health services available at all of our schools. We have partnerships with 3 different agencies in the area: Children's Hospital, Catalyst Counseling, and Solutions Counseling. They have a full-time or part-time therapist in every building. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can talk to your school counselor and they can make a referral for you to that therapist directly, and the therapist will contact you. All of those services are billed through your insurance. So we want to make sure that you're connected with them. Even if you just have to ask the question, if they're covered under your insurance, they can help you with that. If you just want to get more information, they're happy to answer those questions too. It is completely confidential. So anything that is said during those therapy sessions, other than the fact that your child is attending therapy sessions, that everything else is confidential. The school will know what is happening with your child in terms of, yes, they go and see the therapist, but they don't know all the specifics of what happens within that session. So again, you can reach out to your school counselor, or you can reach out to the therapist directly. Their information is on your school's website. And I think I have one more. Yep. So we know we have a lot of students that have food allergies, they have food sensitivities, they're lactose intolerant, or for religious reasons, they avoid specific foods in their diet. So if your child has any reason that they need a modified diet from the school, we have a form that we need to have you fill out. And it needs to be signed by your physician. If it's a medical need for a special diet or something to avoid, like you're avoiding milk, you need to have that physician sign that form for you. If you're avoiding certain foods because of religious reasons or for personal choice, like you're vegetarian, and your child doesn't eat meat or meat products, that does not have to be signed by a physician. That can just be signed by a parent, but it does have to be submitted to the nurse or to the main office. And we, as nurses, keep track of those students and who those are. So we make sure that we're aware of food allergies or things that may pop up medically for your child. But then we also communicate that. I'm sorry, I have a dog that's really excited about another dog walking by. And we make sure we communicate that to the child nutrition team within the building and then to the main child nutrition staff at the district level. So we're all aware of a special dietary needs. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Lynn Gilkey from our child nutrition department, and she can give you more information about our food services.
Good evening. I'm Lynn, and I'm one of the Child Nutrition Assistant Directors, and I'd like to share with you just a little bit about what child nutrition has to offer. So most of what you'll need from child nutrition, you can pretty easily find on the child nutrition website. If you can go back one slide, Christina. So a few of the things that you'll find will be, you can apply for meal benefits, which is the free and reduced lunch. You can fill out an account restriction for your child. You can look at our menus, our meal charge policy, nutritional facts, special diets that Lauren just talked about, and how to put money onto your child's account. Okay, next slide. So from the main screen of the child nutrition website, there are a few tasks that you can pretty easily complete. The first one is applying for meal benefits, like I mentioned, free and reduced. So please don't look at this or look at filling this out until July 15th, because that's actually when the application will open up for next year. So if you go on now and fill that out, it will actually be for this year. But if you think you might qualify for free or reduced lunch and breakfast based on income, please, after July 15th, go ahead and fill that out. So this year, we have been operating under a waiver from USDA, which has allowed us to provide free meals for all students, but we have not received any guidance that that will continue for next year. So also from the main page of child nutrition, you can fill out an account restriction form. And so if you would like to restrict your students' snacks by dollar amount, so if you only want them to purchase 50 cents a day or $2 per week, and that's for snacks only, you can complete this form and submit it to child nutrition. Now, if you choose to do that, restriction will stay on your child's account until you remove it or until you change it. So it's not something that you have to fill out every year. It will stay on your child's account until you change it. But just as a quick side note, all of the snacks that we do provide are Smart Snack Guidelines approved. So they have to meet specific nutritional requirements or we cannot offer them. Okay, also from the main page of the child nutrition website, there are some tabs across the top. And there's lots of information in there, but I want to focus on the second tab, which is menus and information. And a couple of really important pieces of information you'll find there. The first one is our school menus. So right now, if you look, you will see April and May school menus. You can scroll down to the various months, and early childhood is at the top. So you'll see the menus. And there's April. So if you hover over any particular menu item, you can see nutritional information. So you can see the nutrition, you can see the ingredients, the allergens. So it's a really nice feature of the website that we have. So if you have any questions about what we're serving, there it is. Okay, also on the website, if you go to the top and if you can go back to the school menu, or just to the slides, either way. If you go to special meal accommodations at the top, you'll see that drop down with the 8 common allergens. So if you click on any one or two of those, if you click on, maybe click on egg, then you can see any products that contain egg will be crossed out in red. So you can easily see the products that your child would need to avoid. Okay. Next slide. Okay, meal charge policy. So all students will be offered a meal regardless of their of the status of their meal account or their ability to pay. However, when the student's meal balance reaches the charge limit, which for early childhood and elementary school students is -$12, we do provide an alternate meal. So it won't be any meal that they choose, it will be the charge meal that they will receive. Also, if a student's account has a negative balance, we do not allow them to purchase additional snacks. But we will never refuse a child a meal. We make sure that everyone does get to eat. Okay, what makes a meal? So it's important for kids to make a meal because one, it's the most financially and nutritionally, it's the most financial and nutritional best deal that you're going to get from the department. And also, if your child does qualify for free and reduced meals, this is how they're going to get that benefit. They have to make a meal. So in order to make a meal, you want to meet at least 3 of the 5 components that we offer. They can choose all 5 if they want, but they have to choose at least 3. And the components are milk, grain, meat or meat alternate, fruit, and vegetable. Every meal also has to contain a fruit or a vegetable, and that's how you make a meal. But don't worry, your kids do not have to know that coming in. The cashiers are very good at the early childhood schools and elementaries to help make sure that every child makes a meal. If they're missing something, they'll send them back through the line to pick a fruit or vegetable or whatever it is that they're missing. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to touch on was adding money to your student's account. So the best way to do this is to set up an Easy Pay account, which you can easily do from the main page of the Lakota website. Just set up that Easy Pay account, and you can add money to the account. You can also check their balance anytime you would like. You can set up a low balance alert reminder so you get a notification when the balance reaches whatever limit that you put on it. And you can also view 2 weeks of your students' transactions. So you can see what they're purchasing. So you know if you need to put a restriction on them or just have a chat, or if you're okay with what's going on. So you can also send cash or check with your student, but please note if you do that, all change from the transaction does get placed in the child's account. So if they bring in a $20 bill and there's change on the account, obviously that's going to go on the account. It's not going to go back to your child. So those are the 2 ways to add money.
All right, so that brings us to the end of tonight's presentation. Again, you will find this presentation linked on our district website, Lakota Online. There's one more thing that I wanted to show you that we referenced quite a few times on our main page here. So I talked to you a little bit about Hack, and Lynn talked to you a little bit about Easy Pay. This is the main page of our website, so you can see all of those things that you need at a moment's notice listed at the top. So that's kind of easy access for you to obtain some of the things that we talked about tonight. So with that being said, that is the end of tonight's presentation. If you have questions, you can contact me via my email address, and I will be happy to answer those. If you have any personal or family situational questions, you can definitely email those to me, and I will either answer them myself or direct them to the person that can best answer them, and we will go from there. Again, we are very excited to have your child joining us at Lakota Schools. All 6 of our early childhood principals are very responsive to any questions that you may have as well. So you can access their information via our district website as well. And we are looking forward to a great fall with your child. And we're also looking forward to having you join us next week as we have some of our kindergarten teachers joining us to talk about kindergarten readiness skills. So if you are questioning what are some of the things that my child needs to know going into kindergarten, or what are some things that you can work on over the summer with them, the next session, number 2, would be a great session for you to attend to learn about those things. So with that being said, I will hang on the line here for a little bit and answer some of the questions that might be rolling in here last minute. Otherwise, thank you for attending. We appreciate having you here, and we'll see you next week or see you real soon.
Thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.